Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Welcome back. Today we are going to start another system that commonly affect our daily life, that is gastrointestinal tract. So in this lecture we will discuss the treatment of of gastrointestinal disorders. The most common gastrointestinal disorder which we will discuss in our lectures are treatment of acid peptic disease, treatment of vomiting, treatment of diarrhea, and treatment of constipation. In all these conditions, treatment of acid peptic disease is very important. Treatment of acid peptic disease is very important, and it is the commonest gastrointestinal disorder. So the first topic that we will discuss is the treatment of acid peptic disease. The learning objective of this topic is at the end you should be able to define acid peptic disease, classify drugs used for the treatment of peptic ulcer, describe the mechanism of action, clinical uses, adverse effects, and drug interaction of antipeptic ulcer drugs, discuss different regimen used for eradication of H. pylori. Now I will ask you, do you have any information or any knowledge about the acid peptic disease or peptic ulcer, what it is? Anyone have any information what is peptic ulcer or what is acid peptic disease? Because it is very common in our society, and even laymen understand what is peptic ulcer or what are the sign and symptom of this disease. No one knows about it. Okay. Okay, yes, in this type of disease, there is or we can say acid peptic disease is a group of disorder that causes the ulceration and erosion in the lining of the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract. Correct, Ikra? It is a erosion, is a defect in the lining of the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract, and it is a group of disorder, acid peptic disease, and peptic ulcer is one of them. Other are the gastroesophageal reflux disease, that is known as GERD, non-ulcer dyspepsia, and stress-related mucosal injury. All comes under the heading of acid peptic disease. What is peptic ulcer? Peptic ulcer is simply, it is a break or ulceration in the lining of the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract. You can see here, this is the ulcer. This is the ulcer. There is a break in the lining of mucosa. There is no mucosal lining, and it is exposed to the gastric acid. This is the ulcer. This is the ulcer. This is the ulcer. These are the ulcers present at different places of gastrointestinal tract. Not all inflammation of gastrointestinal. Inflammation, we can say inflammation is something else. It will comes under the heading of inflammatory bowel diseases. It comes under the heading of inflammatory bowel diseases. The definition of peptic ulcer or acid peptic disease is just the break in the lining of the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract, or the ulceration in the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract. Peptic ulcer usually present in the stomach or the first part of the duodenum in areas who are exposed to gastric acid. Okay? Who are exposed to gastric acid. Stress-related ulcer. The cause of peptic ulcer and stress-related ulcer is different. Although both are the ulcer, both causes the break or the ulceration in the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract, but pathophysiology and cause is different. Stress ulcer occurs because of the chronic illness or because of the continuous stress. As you all know that in stress, cortisol is released from the adrenal cortex, and what it causes? It disturbs the gastrointestinal physiology and can cause ulcer. So continuous stress of chronic illness Bedridden patients, they may prone to develop stress related ulcer, and the site of ulcer is also different from the peptic ulcer. This type of ulcer can occur in all gastrointestinal tract, and it is caused by the chronic illness कि एक बंदा continuously बीमार है, bedridden है, तो because of stress ulcer is produced, while the peptic ulcer is mainly caused by the Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori organism, or drugs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, cytotoxic drugs, etc. So pathophysiology and causes are different in both type of ulcers. Gastroesophageal reflux disease. It is quite different, in which ulcer of the esophageal ulcer is caused by the backward flow of the gastric acid into the esophagus, or regurgitation of gastric content into the esophagus. This may occur because of the weakness of the lower esophageal sphincters. As you all know, after eating, these lower esophageal sphincters that is present on this space is closed, and gastric content will not come back into the esophagus. But in this disease, gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, patient having a backward flow of gastric acid into the esophagus, and this backward flow of gastric acid can cause esophageal ulcer erosion, and if it is not treated, it can cause narrowing of the esophagus or stricture of esophagus, and if it is present for long period of time, then it may develop to the esophageal cancer. Okay. You can see here, these are the esophageal sphincters, lower esophageal sphincters, and the weakness of this lower esophageal sphincter can cause the gastric esophageal reflux disease, or GERD. The treatment of almost all acid peptic disease are same. Same drugs are used for stress ulcer, same drugs are used for peptic ulcer, non-ulcer dyspepsia, or even GERD. But in GERD, there is a small difference. Okay, we have another type of group that is known as prokinetic drugs. Prokinetic drugs, or D2 receptor blockers, dopamine receptor blocker, and these drugs include metoclopramide. And metoclopramide is known as motilium. It is very commonly used for the treatment of vomiting, even, or for the treatment of GERD, to prevent the backward flow of the gastric acid. Metoclopramide, and metoclopramide is not used in other acid type of acid peptic disease. It is not used in peptic ulcer, not used in a stress related ulcer or non-ulcer dyspepsia. It is only used in GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Peptic ulcer. Peptic ulcer is very common disorder in all part of the world. In USA, 4.5 million patient is suffering from peptic ulcer, and every year 500,000 new cases are diagnosed. And the prevalence is much more in our country. And every second person having some symptoms of peptic ulcer: heartburn, dyspepsia, discomfort, or pain in the epigastric region. So it is very common, and the information regarding peptic ulcer is very important, theoretically as well as practically. In your surrounding, in your family, you may have some patient having peptic ulcer. So it is a very common or basic topic to understand. और अगर आप लोगों की dental उसमें नहीं भी use होगा, तो भी आपके जो surrounding में जो people हैं, जो आपके neighbors हैं, आपके family members हैं, आप हैं, आपकी family है, कभी ना कभी उनको ये प्रॉब्लम होगा, और आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन अगर है तो इट विल बी यूजफुल फॉर यू. So peptic ulcer is a sore in the lining of the stomach or the duodenum. The ulcer present in the stomach is known as gastric ulcer, and the ulcer present in the duodenum is known as duodenal ulcer. Ulcer is mainly caused by Helicobacter pylori. H. pylori. Okay, this is an organism, gram-negative organism, and 90% of the cases of peptic ulcer is caused by this organism, Helicobacter pylori. The second most common cause are the drugs. 90% with the 90% with H. pylori, and 10% of the peptic ulcer is caused by drugs. And which drugs? Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. This group of drug is commonly known as analgesics or antipyretic drugs. These drugs used for the treatment of pain or fever or any inflammation, like aspirin, good, like aspirin, Panadol, like Brufen, like Ponestan. All drugs come under the heading of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and this group of drug uh, disturb the normal physiology of GIT, disturb the normal physiology of the GIT, because it inhibit the prostaglandin synthesis, and prostaglandin in the stomach decreases the gastric acid secretion and increases the mucus and bicarbonate secretion. That is a defensive. The second common group of drug is corticosteroids. Corticosteroids. The continuous use of corticosteroid. Caflam is also non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. It is a diclofenac potassium. Diclofenac potassium. Caflam. Caflam is very effective anti-inflammatory drug. Corticosteroid. Corticosteroid is the second most common, and the third one is the cytotoxic drugs, the drugs that are used for the treatment of malignancies, carcinomas, cancers. Yes, DEXA is a corticosteroids. Okay, so these are the drugs that can be responsible for the development of peptic ulcer, although the most common cause was cause is Helicobacter pylori. These are the few predisposing factors or aggravating factors. These are the few predisposing or aggravating factors. Before identification of this organism H. pylori, it was thought that the ulcer is caused by the stress and the spicy food. Ulcer is caused by the stress and the spicy food, but now it is clear that ulcer is mainly caused by the microorganism that is known as H. pylori. Although spicy food, stress, alcohol, smoking, family history of ulcers, all these factors can contribute in the development of peptic ulcer, but these are not the causative agents. Okay, these are not the causative agents. The causes are these H. pylori and the drugs. These are the predisposing factors or aggravating factors. Okay. Okay, ulcer can occur uh, because of the imbalance between the aggressive factors and the defensive factors. Aggressive factors include the acid, pepsin, and H. pylori, while the defensive factors are the mucus, bicarbonate, and prostaglandins. Where they are called defensive? Because they protect the gastric mucosa from the injury caused by the acid, pepsin, and H. pylori. And ulcer usually occur because of the imbalance between these factors. These are the aggressive factors and these are the defensive factors. H. pylori, gastric acid, and pepsin. Okay? And protective factors are gastric mucus, gastric and renal bicarbonate, because both are alkaline, decreases the gastric pH. Prostaglandin decreases the gastric acid secretion and also increase the release of mucus and bicarbonate. Blood flow also contribute, because decreased blood flow can be a cause of ulcer. Okay? Decreased blood flow, gastric blood flow, that can occur in burn patients, in hypovolemic patients. So these are the contributing factors. H. pylori. H. pylori is a gram-negative bacilli. gram negative bacilli. Do you know the gram positive, gram negative, and bacilli and cocci? Have you done your microbiology about it? Okay. So it is a gram negative bacilli, and it is transmitted mainly by the orophycal route. It is transmitted by the orophycal route, and it causes the injury to the mucosa, and mucosa is injury to the mucosa and disturb the lining of the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract and expose the mucosa to the gastric acid. So by this way they causes the gastric ulcer. It is responsible for 70% of the gastric ulcer and 90% of the duodenal ulcer. The history of identification of this organism is very important. It was identified by the Marshall Crew. Marshall Crew, a scientist who identified that the ulcer is caused by mainly by the H. pylori microorganism. As I told you that before that, in the past, it was understood that the ulcer is caused by the stress and spicy food. So Marshall Crew is the person who identified that the ulcer is caused by H. pylori, but no one believe on this. Okay, कि ulcer is caused by H. pylori. So Marshall Crew ने क्या किया था? Because कोई भी चीज हम अगर कोई ड्रग आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, कोई भी अल्सर या कोई भी हम डिजीज आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, तो सबसे पहले हम उसको कंफर्म करते हैं स्मॉल एनिमल्स में, माइस में, गिनी पिग्स में, ठीक है, जब एक्सपेरिमेंटल एनिमल्स ये हैं. बट हेलिकोबैक्टर पायलोरी का प्रॉब्लम ये था कि वो माइस या गिनी पिग्स में डिजीज कॉज नहीं करता, वो सिर्फ प्राइमेट्स में या ह्यूमन बींग्स में डिजीज कॉज करता है. सो नो वन बिलीव ऑन द मार्शल क्रू के ये इसकी वजह से होता है. तो मार्शल क्रू ने इसको सब लोगों को यकीन दिलाने के लिए क्या किया, उसने आइसोलेट किया एच पाइलोरी को किसी पेशेंट के इंटेस्टाइन से, उसको पानी में मिक्स किया और उसको पी लिया. उसको पीने के कुछ टाइम के बाद, कुछ वीक्स के बाद उसको अल्सर डेवलप हुआ. उसने अपना बायोप्सी की, उसको डायग्नोज किया और कंफर्म कर दिया कि अल्सर जो है वो एच पाइलोरी की वजह से होता है. और 2005 में उसको इस वजह से नोबेल प्राइज मिला था. ठीक है, तो हिस्ट्री इसकी इंटरेस्टिंग है कि उसने उसको कंफर्म करने के लिए उसने उसको अपने आप को इन्फेक्ट किया. ओके, so now we again come to the peptic ulcer. We will discuss the pathophysiology or the physiological control of gastric acid. Physiologically, gastric acid is controlled by a few hormones and neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, gastrin, and histamine. Although other factors, other juices or enzymes also play a very important role in the regulation of gastric acid secretion, but these are the three main neurohormones that control the gastric acid secretion. Number one, acetylcholine. Number two, gastrin, and number three, histamine. Histamine is very important. Gastrin is released from the G cell, acetylcholine is released from the vagus nerve, and histamine is released from the enterochromaffin cells. And gastric ulcer or hydrogen ion is released from the parietal cells, while the chloride is present in the stomach and the lumen. So hydrogen combine with HCl and form the hydrochloric acid. This is a picture of parietal cells. This is a picture of parietal cell, and you can see here that there are different receptors on the basolateral surface of the parietal cell. This is the parietal cell, and this is the receptor for histamine, prostaglandin, acetylcholine, and gastrin. Okay, all these neurohormones activate different type of G protein. Different type of G protein activate protein kinase, and this protein kinase activate hydrogen potassium ATPase pump. You can see here on the apical surface of parietal cell there is a hydrogen potassium ATPase pump. Hydrogen potassium ATPase pump. ठीक है. And this pump excrete or release hydrogen ion and absorb potassium ion. Okay, potassium ion comes inside and hydrogen ion go outside in the lumen, and it combine with the HCl and form hydrochloric acid or gastric acid. This is the normal way to release hydrogen ion in the stomach. And all these histamine, acetylcholine, and gastrin are the stimulator. They stimulate the release of hydrogen ion, while the prostaglandin you can see here, it activates GI protein. It activates GI protein, and GI are an inhibitory protein, and it inhibit all this process. Inhibit all this process. So GI prostaglandin inhibit the release of hydrogen ion into the stomach and inhibit the release of gastric acid. So it has a defensive role. And non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug inhibit this prostaglandin, so they block this defensive role. And this defensive role create a balance between these aggressive factors or releasing hormones or the inhibitory hormones. These are the common symptoms of peptic ulcer. Patient may have epigastric pain, burning sensation, nausea, vomiting, hematemesis. Hematemesis means blood in vomiting. Blood in vomiting. It is called hematemesis. Burping or bloating यानी गैस का अक्सर लोग कहते हैं ना डकार आना या गैस होना. Melena, black colored stool. Sometimes ulcer may bleed, and small bleed when excrete out in the feces, it is in term of melena, black colored stool, because of iron. Now it is very easy to understand that what kind of drug can be used for the treatment of peptic ulcer. What kind of drugs can be used? Can you tell me? Now you know the pathophysiology, causative factors. So can you identify which type of drugs can be used for the treatment of peptic ulcer? Which kind of drug? Waiting for your response. Okay, I think you are sleeping. आप लोगों ने ऑन किया है लैपटॉप और उसके बाद आप लोग सो गए हो, है ना? चलो, ताहिरा ने वो कहा है कि नहीं हम सोए हुए नहीं. बेटा, नॉन स्टेरॉइडल इज अ causative agent, so how can we use it? Yes, Sirat, proton pump inhibitors. As I told you that proton pump is the main pump that releases hydrogen ion. So when we block this pump, we can inhibit the release of hydrogen ion and can treat peptic ulcer, and this is a very common group of drug. Okay. We can use three types of drugs. Yes, omeprazole, HUMA is also a proton pump inhibitor. Okay, I will tell you now. We will use three types of drug. Number one, the drug that inhibit or neutralize the gastric acid. Either they inhibit the release of gastric acid or neutralize the gastric acid. One group. Second group, the drug that protect the mucosa. The drug that protect the mucosa and prevent the injury caused by the acid. And third group is antibiotic. As I told you that this ulcer is caused by Helicobacter pylori or the microorganism. So definitely the treatment of microorganism is antibiotic, and it is a very notorious animal microorganism. So this infection is treated by combination of therapy. Okay, two antibiotics plus one, two or three antibiotics plus one proton pump inhibitor is ideal for the treatment of antibiotic and requires the treatment for 15 days to month. But after confirmed diagnosis, okay. So the first group that is used to inhibit or neutralize the gastric acid secretions are antacids. Antacids are the basic substances or alkaline substances that neutralize the gastric acid and provide a prompt relief or quick relief to the symptoms. Quick relief. कि जैसे अगर आपको हाइपर एसिडिटी हो रही है, बर्निंग हो रही है, तो अगर आप एंटासिड लेते हो तो फौरन ही आपको जो है वो आपकी बर्निंग खत्म हो जाएगी. इट हैज अ क्विक एक्शन, but unfortunately it has no role in the cure of the disease. It just produces the symptomatic relief. So it is not used nowadays as a first line drug, although it can be used as a non-prescription remedy. Sometimes it can be prescribed. But eno is a antacid. Yes, it is an antacid, and it also neutralizes the gastric acid. Yeah. H2 receptor antagonist. Second, it is very commonly used. Zantac is a famous drug from this group. Proton pump inhibitor. This is the first line, or we can say the drug of choice nowadays for all types of acid peptic disease. Then anticholinergic drugs. Anticholinergic drugs are the historical drugs. They were used, or they can be used, but practically they are not used. Benzene and propanthyline, because we have some more specific drug. We have some more specific drugs, so there is no need to use this anticholinergic drug. But you have to remember the name, because sometimes it is asked in the MCQ, which anticholinergic drug can be used for the treatment of peptic ulcer. So pyrazine and propanthyline are the drugs that can be used for peptic ulcer treatment. Then the drugs that protect the mucosa. Mucosa. कौन सी drugs हैं? Prostaglandin analog, misoprostol, 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 and sucralfate and bismuth salt. All three increases the release of mucus and bicarbonate and form the protective layer over the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract, over the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract. It is from the protective lining. So gastric acid will not penetrate through this protective lining and not cause injury to the gastric mucosa. These are the agents: misoprostol, sucralfate, and bismuth salt. It is asked in the Viva, so you should remember the name of these substances. Then we should know the antibiotics. Only 4 antibiotics can be used for the treatment of H. pylori. Although we have thousands of antibiotics, we have a long list of antibiotics. Ryzik is a omeprazole, that is proton pump inhibitor. Okay? So these antibiotics are specifically used, and you have to remember the name of these antibiotics. Number 1 is the clarithromycin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, metronidazole. ठीक है? Clarithromycin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, and metronidazole. These antibiotics should be on your tips. ठीक है? Clarithromycin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, and metronidazole. So we have 3 groups of drugs that can be used for the treatment of peptic ulcer. Number 1, the drug that you neutralize or inhibit the gastric acid secretion. Number 2, the drug that protect the mucosa. And number 3, antibiotics. Okay, the drug that inhibit or neutralize the gastric acid are the antacids, H2 receptor antagonist, proton pump inhibitors, okay, mainly, and anticholinergics. In mucosal protective agents, we have sucralfate, misoprostol, and bismuth. And in antibiotics, we have clarithromycin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, and metronidazole. Flagyl is an antibiotic. Yes, metronidazole is a flagyl and it is an antibiotic. Okay? Especially used for gastrointestinal infections. This slide shows the mechanism of action or site of action of various drugs. Like, first we talk about the antacids. This is the antacid. Aluminum and magnesium hydroxide and calcium carbonate, all are the antacids. Antacids bind with the HCl and neutralize this. It acts on this stage after releasing of hydrogen ion. Okay. Then we have a lansoprazole and omeprazole that is a proton pump inhibitor, and these drugs block this proton pump and block the release of hydrogen ion into the lumen. Third one is the H2 receptor antagonist. You have seen here the histaminic receptors. We have four types of histamine receptor. How many types? Four types of histamine receptor: H1, H2, H3, and H4. H1 antagonists are used for the treatment of allergies like allergic rhinitis, any skin allergy or other types of allergies, and they are known as antihistamine. ठीक है, जो आप खाते हो Softin, Rigix, Avil, Priton, Fexit, these are the H1 antagonist or antihistamine. The drug that block the H2 receptor is used for peptic ulcer, H2 receptor antagonist. So the name is H2 receptor antagonist, and these are the cimetidine, famotidine, and ranitidine. Okay, these drugs block this receptor and inhibit the histamine stimulated hydrogen ion secretion. जो सिक्रीशन हिस्टामीन, एक बात मैं आपको बताऊं कि हिस्टामीन हैज अ मेजर रोल इन द सिक्रीशन ऑफ हाइड्रोजन आयन, ठीक है, because acetylcholine and gastrin act on the enterochromaffin cell which is present near the parietal cell, enterochromaffin cell, ठीक है, and it increases the release of histamine. So histamine will bind with these receptors on the parietal cell and increase the release of hydrogen ion. The role of acetylcholine and gastrin is comparatively less than the histamine. Comparatively less than the histamine. Then we come to the cytoprotective agents or mucosal protective agents. Misoprostol act on the prostaglandin and increase the mucus and bicarbonate secretion and decrease the HCl secretion. HCl की secretion को decrease कर देगा. If you recall the previous slide, which shows the parietal cell and the receptor of prostaglandin, then prostaglandin activation of this receptor decrease the release of HCl and increase the release of mucus and bicarbonate. Sucralfate and bismuth compound form the protective lining over the mucosa of gastrointestinal tract and protect the mucosa from the injury. So this is all about mechanism of action. Same slide. So first we come to the antacids. We have two types of antacids: dietary antacids and chemical antacids. Dietary antacids are the most common is the milk, okay, and fats. Chemical antacids are some are systemic and some are non-systemic. So we prefer non-systemic, remember, not systemic. Systemic antacids is the sodium bicarbonate and non-systemic are the calcium carbonate, aluminum hydroxide, magnesium trisilicate, magnesium hydroxide. All are the non-systemic antacids and they are not absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. They are not absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. They remains in the GIT and excreted out in the feces. So they have no systemic effect, only produces the local effect in the GIT. While the sodium bicarb, this is known as baking soda, is a systemic. It can be absorbed in the systemic circulation and can produce some problems. Mechanism of action of antacids. Antacids combine with the gastric acid and form salt and water and neutralize the gastric acid by this way. First, we will discuss the sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate, when react with the hydrochloric acid, it forms the salt and water along with the carbon dioxide. कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को भी ये रिलीज करेगा, तो इसकी वजह से क्या होगा, पेशेंट में हैव अ belching and burping, डकार आने या उसको जो है ना हवा खारिज होना, ठीक है, and it also stimulate the prostaglandin synthesis. But the problem with this, it can absorb in the from the gastrointestinal tract and it can cause alkalosis. It can cause alkalosis because it is alkaline and sodium can retain the water inside the body and can be problematic in patient having heart failure or kidney failure. It can be used for the treatment of heartburn or dyspepsia. It can be used in acidosis because it causes the alkalinization, so it can be used in acidosis. It can be used for the excretion of various drugs, acidic drugs like aspirin. Aspirin poisoning अगर हो जाए या overdosage हो जाए aspirin की या phenobarbital की, तो क्या they have no antidote. They have no antidote. So their removal from the body depend on the pH. ठीक है? So sodium bicarb decreases the pH, increases the pH, and can uh, ionize these drugs and help in the excretion from the body. And it can be used in combination with omeprazole. Omeprazole is a basic drug, and it can be destroyed or can be ionized in the gastric acid. So to protect it from the and it has to be absorbed from the intestine. Okay, it has to be absorbed from the intestine. So if it is ionized in the stomach, it will not be absorbed. So to prevent its ionization in the stomach, it can be used with sodium bicarb. साशे अवेलेबल है ओमिप्राजोल का, हो सकता है आप लोगों में से किसी ने देखा हो या यूज किया हो. तो साशे में जो है वो पाउडर फॉर्म में ओमिप्राजोल के साथ सोडियम बाइकार्ब होता है. And the other uses, as I told you, that sodium bicarb is a baking soda, so it is widely used in baking. It is widely used in baking. It can be a part of some toothpaste. It can be a part of some toothpaste. So it has a list of clinical uses of sodium bicarb, but it is not commonly used in um, peptic ulcer because of its systemic effect. It can cause gastric distension and belching because of carbon dioxide release. It can cause metabolic alkalosis if it is used in higher quantity. It can exacerbate fluid retention in patient having heart failure, hypertension, and kidney problem. So it should be avoided in patient having all these problems. If any antacid, if it is taken 30 minutes before meal, or if it is taken before meal, then its duration of action will be 30 minutes. If it is taken before meal in empty stomach, then the duration of action is 30 minutes. But if it is taken after meal, then its duration of action will be 2 hours. It has prolonged duration of action because food can delay the gastric emptying. Food can delay the gastric emptying. So the duration of antacid will be increased in if it is taken after meal and reduced if it is taken in empty stomach. The most commonly prescribed or used antacid is the combination of aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide. Okay? Both used in combination, and the combination is known as milk of magnesia. Okay? Milk of magnesia. In which both of these antacids are used because aluminum hydroxide causes constipation and magnesium hydroxide causes diarrhea. Okay? Magnesium hydroxide causes diarrhea and it causes constipation. So when it is used in combination along, then they neutralize these effects. Patient may not having any diarrhea or constipation, or it is not absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. So it is ideal to use calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate react less slowly than the sodium bicarb, and it also produces carbon dioxide when react with the gastric acid. Calcium carbonate, like sodium bicarb, while magnesium hydroxide and aluminum hydroxide will not produce carbon dioxide. So patient may have no problem with flatulence, belching, or gastric distension. Calcium carbonate can cause constipation and hypercalcemia, renal insufficiency, milk alkali syndrome, or metabolic alkalosis. All these things come if the patient taking very large doses of calcium carbonate along with the other calcium that is present in the milk for long period of time. Then patient may have some underlying disease, some problem with kidney or some problem, some metabolic problem, then they may cause these adverse effects. and they may cause these adverse effects. Otherwise, normally patient will not have any hypercalcemia, metabolic alkalosis, or milk alkali syndrome. It is only happened when a large amount of calcium carbonate used with other calcium containing substance for the long period of time. Clear? As you all know that calcium, the antacid decreases or increases the gastric pH. It alkaline the gastric pH, so it may affect the absorption of various other drugs. The drugs that require the acidic pH to absorb. So it may affect the absorption of other drugs by binding or by increasing the intragastric pH. For example, tetracycline, fluoroquinolone, that is commonly available with the name of ciproxin, ठीक है, and iron. आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि जब भी कभी डॉक्टर आपको प्रिस्क्राइब करेगा आयरन तो कहेगा कि जी शुड नॉट बी टेक विद द मिल्क, ठीक है, इट शुड नॉट बी टेकन विद द मिल्क, और जो है should not be taken with any other things that alkalinize the gastric pH, because iron is best absorbed in the acidic pH, and citrus fruit even increases the absorption of iron, like vitamin C or the fruit that having vitamin C. Now we come to the H2 receptor antagonist. H2 receptor antagonist. Many drugs, the name of many groups of drugs shows their mechanism of action. As the name shows that this group of drugs definitely inhibit the histamine receptors, okay, to produce its effect. But a sangobion is an iron preparation. Sangobion is an iron preparation. It should not be taken with the milk. जो न्यूअर आयरन प्रिपरेशन आजकल आ रही हैं पॉलीमाल्टोज, उनकी एब्जॉर्प्शन जो है वो फूड और मिल्क से अफेक्ट नहीं होती है, ठीक है. थेराग्राम इज अ मल्टीविटामिन, थेराग्राम इज अ मल्टीविटामिन, संगोबियान इज अ iron preparation with some vitamin. So H2 receptor antagonists are the cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, zatidine, roxetidine, and loxetidine. Okay, these are the name of the drug, and you have seen the suffix tidine. Tidine is a suffix that is present in all end of the all drugs. Okay, it is a suffix that is present in all drugs. Cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, nazitidine, roxatidine, loxatidine. So tidine is a common, okay, in all drugs, and you have to just remember this: semi, rani, famo, naze, roxa, and loxa. Clear? You have to remember this name because it can be asked in MSCQs. Write down the 3-4 names of H2 receptor antagonist. So you have to remember the name of these drugs. H2 receptor antagonists, they are reversibly or competitively inhibit the H2 receptors. These drugs has no effect on H1 receptor, H3 receptors, and H4 receptors. As I told you, there are 4 types of histaminic receptors, but this group of drug is specific for H2 receptor, and H1 receptors and antagonists are different. So it has no effect on other histaminic receptor. It competitively block the H2 receptor and inhibit the basal. Basal means normal gastric acid secretion होती है without meal, or in the fasting state it is called the basal gastric acid secretion. So H2 receptor antagonist inhibit the basal and both meal stimulating secretion moderately, and it is very effective in inhibiting the nocturnal acid secretion, because nocturnal acid secretion mainly depends on the histamine. So it is very effectively control the gastric acid secretion that is released in the night. So it is very effective for nocturnal dyspepsia or increased nocturnal gastric acid secretion. The H2 receptor antagonists are the cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, nizatidine, roxetidine, and loxetidine. These are the H2 receptor antagonists, and you have to remember the name of these drugs. All these drugs can be used by all routes. Can be used by oral route, can be used by intramuscular or intravenous route. But the most popular route is the oral route, because oral route is convenient and it is cheap and it is easy to use as compared to the IV route. The IV route or intramuscular route can be used in unconscious patient, in vomiting patient, in bedridden patients, and it is distributed in all compartments, and even it is excreted in the breast milk and it can cross the placenta. Bioavailability is 50%. Cimetidine, ranitidine, and famotidine has a 50% bioavailability, while nizatidine has 90% bioavailability. The bioavailability of nizatidine is highest in all H2 receptor antagonists. Half-life of this group of drug is 1 to 4 hours. 1 hour to 4 hours. It is metabolized in the liver and excreted out in the kidney. These drugs can be used for the treatment of gastroesophageal reflux disease, peptic ulcer, prevention of bleeding from the stress ulcer. The main problem with the stress ulcer is the acute bleeding from this ulcer. So, to prevent the bleeding, we can use H2 receptor antagonist, we can use even sucralfate, we can use omeprazole or the proton pump inhibitors. It can be effective for nocturnal dyspepsia and non-ulcer dyspepsia. Non-ulcer dyspepsia means dyspepsia, increase gastric acid secretion because without any ulcer, non-ulcer dyspepsia. Okay, so it can be used in all these conditions. One thing you have to remember that it can be used in peptic ulcer who are not caused by H. pylori. If the ulcer is caused by H. pylori, then the main treatment is proton pump inhibitor. It is not very effective in H. pylori induced ulcer. Second, it is also not very effective if the ulcer caused by acid and patient continuously taking acid. If the ulcer is caused by acid and patient stop acid after developing the ulcer, then H2 receptor antagonist can be used. Otherwise, it will not be used, and we have to prefer a proton pump inhibitor. Because of these qualities, proton pump inhibitor is a drug of choice in all type of ulcer. Otherwise, it can be used. H2 receptor blockers can be used in all these conditions, and GERD in prevention of stress-related ulcer, in nocturnal dyspepsia, non-ulcer dyspepsia, and even peptic ulcer disease. But the more beneficial and more effective is the proton pump inhibitors. Okay, we are going to stop this topic here, and we will continue remaining of this topic tomorrow. Ask if you have any question or any query. You can ask if you have any question, any query regarding the topic, peptic ulcer. It is very easy topic and easy to understand, and even easy to remember. Okay, I will just revise the drugs. We will use 3 types of drugs. Number 1, the drug that block the gastric acid secretion or neutralize the gastric acid. Number 2, the drug that protect the mucosa. Number 3, the drug that inhibit or kill the microorganism. बट लास्ट चैप्टर है लिपिन कॉर्ड में, आप इसको पढ़ लेना, मुझे याद नहीं है एग्जैक्ट चैप्टर का नाम, लेकिन अगर आप लोग अपना आप कंटेंट वो खोलते हो, आप लोग लिस्ट देखते हो टॉपिक्स की, तो उसमें लिखा हुआ होता है कि गैस्ट्रिक अल्सर डिजीज, ये एंड में है, ठीक है, एंड में है, मैं आपको ये बता दूंगी, लेकिन मुझे एग्जैक्ट चैप्टर नंबर याद नहीं है। आप लोगों ने लिपिन कॉर्ड से इसको पढ़ना है, क्लियर है? और you have to give more emphasis to remember the name of the drug. अगर आपको ड्रग्स के नाम याद होंगे तो you can easily write down the information regarding the drugs. अगर आपको ड्रग्स के नाम नहीं याद होंगे तो आपको बेशक पूरा चैप्टर याद हो, it will not be beneficial. So you have to remember the name, and I will repeat it in the group who are in neutralize the gastric acid or inhibit the gastric acid secretion are the antacids. And antacids कौन-कौन से हैं? Sodium bicarbonate, calcium carbonate, aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, etc. And second group is H2 receptor antagonist, और वो कौन-कौन से हैं? Cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, nazitidine, roxetidine, loxetidine. These are the H2 receptor antagonists. Then third group is proton pump inhibitor, वो हम कल discuss करेंगे. Then we have anticholinergic, that is pyrazine and propamethylene. In mucosal protective agents, we have three drugs: misoprostol, sucralfate, and bismuth compound. Okay, sucralfate, misoprostol, and bismuth compound. And in antibiotics, we have 4 antibiotics: amoxicillin, clarithromycin, metronidazole, and tetracycline. Clear? You have to remember. I will ask tomorrow about these drugs, and then we will start the lecture. Okay, thank you.